thought I married into a dream. Gated mansion, family legacy, smiling in-laws. But then I found a video of myself eating breakfast, posted online with a title, "Real Wife Reacts to Lobster Cereal." My every move had been broadcast for months, without my knowledge. Turns out I wasn't just a daughter-in-law, I was content, a living, breathing reality show for strangers to vote on. And the worst part? My husband knew. My mother-in-law directed it. And the fans, they paid to humiliate me. I didn't scream, I smiled, because they thought I'd break, but I was just getting started. When I first stepped into the Whitmore estate, I thought I'd won some cosmic lottery. The gates opened like the beginning of a fairy tale. The marble floors gleamed like the surface of a dream, and every corner of that house smelled like old money and fresh roses. Blake, my husband, stood by my side with that casual arrogance rich men never had to learn. And Eleanor, his mother, wrapped me in a silk-smooth hug that smelled like power, masked with Chanel. They called me their Evelyn. They said I brought a fresh energy to the family. Every morning, someone brought me tea without asking. Eleanor gifted me a Cartier bracelet before I even unpacked my shoes. "We treat our daughters better than we treat our sons," she'd say, eyes gleaming. But there was something else beneath her smiles. A flicker, like she was waiting for something. The house had cameras everywhere. "For safety," Blake assured me, brushing my hair from my face. "There've been a few burglaries in the neighborhood." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was gentle, funny, and said, "I love you," like a promise. The staff addressed me like royalty. I had a walk-in closet larger than my old apartment. I felt chosen. But then came the lobster cereal. One morning, I sat at the breakfast bar, wearing an oversized t-shirt and no makeup. The cook, always kind, brought me a bizarre dish, lobster over cereal. I laughed. "What is this?" I said aloud, playfully. "Is this like billionaire fear factor?" I took one bite, grimaced, and pushed the plate away. It was odd, sure, but I didn't think much of it, until later that evening, scrolling through Reddit. Someone had reposted a video from a strange account. The thumbnail stopped me cold. It was my face, messy bun, my exact t-shirt, that exact moment. The title, "Real Housewife vs. Caviar, She Fails the Challenge." The comments were even worse. 10-10 reaction, she's clueless. Lobster cereal is the new test. They always crack on day 14. This one's boring, but kinda cute. Hope they prank her more. My blood turned to ice. I didn't say a word to Blake. Instead, I locked the bathroom door, sat on the cold tiles, and searched everything I could. I found the page, private, encrypted, but not invisible. A stream called The Real Daughter-in-Law. They had clips, hundreds. Me crying while trying to open a wine bottle. Me getting excited over a garden hose like it was magic. Me flinching when Eleanor raised her voice. I found a chat replay under one of the videos. "Vote now. Should we switch her shampoo with dye? Make her serve caviar to the gardener." Blake proposed the twins' idea again. Let's see how she reacts. I stared at the screen, pulse hammering against my throat. This wasn't just surveillance. This was programming. This was theater. This was humiliation for profit. Blake knew, Eleanor knew, and I had no idea how long they'd been playing this game. That night, I returned to the dinner table with a smile. I wore the exact dress they once mocked in a clip, floral, high-necked, out of trend. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "You look festive," she said, sipping wine. I tilted my head. "It's vintage. Thought the viewers might enjoy something colorful." She stilled. Blake's fork paused mid-air, just for a second. They knew I knew, but I didn't break the silence. I laughed when Eleanor dropped her napkin. I thanked Blake when he surprised me with shrimp ice cream. And when the hidden camera in the bookshelf tilted slightly, I looked straight into the lens and whispered, "Smile for the fans." They wanted a performance? I'd give them one. They thought I was entertainment. I'd make them regret ever hitting record. I adjusted quickly, too quickly. If they wanted a naive, overgrateful, airheaded doll, I give them that. Every morning I'd twirl in the kitchen like I was starring in a 50s detergent commercial. I gushed over toast like it was a 5-star entree. When Blake asked if I'd ever considered giving up work to become a full-time Whitmore woman, I replied, only every day since I was born. The live chat exploded. They ate it up. Ratings soared. On the encrypted platform, my episodes started getting special thumbnails, highlight reels of me being sweetly dumb. Eleanor called it endearing. Fans called it peak obedience. Meanwhile, I called it temporary. You are the most beloved character, Eleanor said one evening as we sipped rosé on the veranda. I watched her eyes carefully, noting the flickers of pride, not in me, but in her creation. I smiled. What an honor. In private, I was building my war chest. I planted a mini camera in my vanity mirror. I synced my laptop to capture screen recordings of the livestream chat. I created a second phone, bought with cash, and began saving timestamps, messages, usernames. They loved watching me pretend to be broken, but I wasn't. I was learning. I began slipping odd things into my behavior, saying lines that hinted at awareness, blinking Morse code on camera, wearing symbols. The comments were divided. Do you think she knows? She's just quirky. They all get weird after month 2. Nah, this one's cracked. Keep it going. Then I went further. I started my own show. Late at night, after pretending to fall asleep beside Blake, I'd slip out to the laundry room and set up a tiny LED light, a mic, and the lens from a broken GoPro. My stream was called Behind the Show. Anonymous, hidden, raw. I whispered into the mic, if you're watching me, then watch this. I described moments they never saw. Eleanor snapping at staff when cameras were off. Blake drunkenly slurring about his investments in human behavior entertainment. I broke down the psychological manipulation tactics, the editing tricks. I showed how I was coached, controlled, corrected. I ended every stream with the same line. You think this is fun, but how long before it's you? At first, no one believed it. Nice ARG, someone commented. Meta layer, bravo, producers. But a few began to question. One night, a donation came in. $5,000. The message read, I was her before you. Get out while you still can. That was the first time I cried on my own stream. Not for pity, for validation. The next step was legal. I found a tech lawyer who specialized in digital consent and privacy abuse. He didn't recognize me at first. No makeup, hoodie, glasses. I told him everything. Showed him clips, evidence, contracts I'd signed under duress. He watched in silence, then asked, do you want revenge or justice? I said, what's the difference if they bleed the same? He handed me a burner server and said, record everything. But do not confront them yet. Let them climb higher. So I waited. I collected. Then one night, I got in. I hacked into the main account. It wasn't even hard. Eleanor had written her password on a post-it behind a decorative Buddha statue. They'd underestimated me for so long, it became part of their blindness. What I found made me nauseous. There were folders labeled by season, by character, by arc. Evelyn Season, Building Trust. Evelyn Season 2 Testing Limits. Evelyn Season 3 Breaking Point. Inside each folder, highlight reels, meme templates, edited reactions, mock trailers. They'd turned me into a product, curated, stylized, dissected. But the worst was the auction. Live. Scheduled for Saturday night. Title, Who Gets to Break Evelyn? Rules. Pay to play. Top bidder selects a humiliation task, public embarrassment, emotional sabotage, one-on-one confrontation, all for entertainment. There were bets placed, real money, cryptocurrency. Some users had anonymous avatars, others used photos, smiling, normal-looking people. And Blake, he was listed as creative director. My stomach clenched. I stared at the screen for a full hour, frozen. Then I whispered into the darkness, you wanted a show? Watch what happens when the doll burns the house down. It started with a single frame, a blurry image of my face, eyes half shut, lips parted, my body slumped in what looked like drunken surrender. The background was my bedroom, my real bedroom, except it wasn't real. Within hours, it was everywhere, a deep fake, perfect enough to fool anyone who wasn't me. They stitched together old footage, artificial nudity, synthetic moans, labeled it Evelyn Exposed, the Whitmore wife unfiltered, posted anonymously by someone with the username Fan Since Season. I found it by accident while researching new legal precedents on streaming violations. My hand froze over the mouse. The screen blurred, my mouth went dry. It wasn't just cruel, it was deliberate. Within 24 hours, I lost 2 major freelance clients. One wrote, "In light of recent media visibility, we're pausing all projects." Another simply sent a screenshot of the video link with a single question mark. I tried to call Blake. He didn't answer. I walked into the living room where Eleanor was arranging orchids like it was any normal day. "Did you see what they posted?" I asked. She barely looked up. "Oh, that's just a joke. You're so sensitive, dear." I stood there, stunned. "It's revenge porn, Eleanor." She set the vase down slowly. "It's not real, and no one cares if it is. People have short memories. This will pass." I could feel my hands shaking. "You let this happen." She sighed, annoyed. "It's just part of the show, Evelyn. Drama keeps people engaged." When Blake finally came home, I showed him the clip. He smirked. "I mean, it's messed up, but it's kind of impressive, right? The tech? And honestly, it's going viral. You're more famous than ever." "You think this is a joke?" I said, voice cracking. He stepped closer, brows drawn. "I think you're blowing it out of proportion. Everyone's playing a character. Yours just got upgraded." That was the first time I cried since I joined this family. But it wasn't loud. It was one of those silent, soul-fracturing breakdowns that doesn't leave you weaker, but emptier. I packed a single bag, took my passport, burner phone, and every hard drive I'd hidden. I left without a word, not even a door slam. 3 months passed. Nothing. The forums speculated. Where's Evelyn? Was that her final arc? Is this scripted too? Ratings plummeted. Viewers turned bitter. Eleanor scrambled to manufacture a replacement. A new girl, fresh-faced, naive, too eager. The comments weren't kind. "She's not Evelyn. This one's trying too hard. Bring back the queen." But I was gone. They tried to find me, sent fake emails, fake fan accounts, even concerned friends trying to track my location. I never responded until I did. One message, sent to the livestream control board anonymously. A plain black screen with white text. "I am not your entertainment. I am not your product. I am not yours." That night, something changed. A new channel appeared. No name, just static at first. Then, footage. Grainy at first, then clearer. Clips of Blake mocking my reactions while watching episodes of me on his phone. Eleanor instructing staff to trigger Evelyn's insecurities before dinner. A secret memo titled, "Evelyn Arc Closure Breakdown Phase." Each upload exposed a deeper layer of the machine. People started to wake up. Viewers became critics. Fans became witnesses. Subreddits flooded with debates. Was this ever legal? Are these actors? Did we help destroy a real person? And then the lawsuits came. A digital privacy watchdog filed a class action. Blake was summoned for violating digital consent. Clips were presented in court, some of which I hadn't even seen myself. His lawyer blamed creative experimentation. The judge didn't laugh. Eleanor, ever unbothered, showed up to the hearing in pearls and a pastel suit. Outside, a reporter asked if she feared consequences. She smiled. "No one ever catches the director. They only chase the stars." But this time, she underestimated the audience. Because I wasn't the star anymore, I was the editor. The email arrived on a quiet Tuesday night. No subject line, no message body, just a single video file attached. Eleanor clicked it. At first, the screen stayed black. Then a voice, familiar, measured, unmistakably mine, filled the silence. Lights, camera, consent. The image sharpened. Her own face, frozen in mid-command, ordering the gardener to plant roses instead of lilies because lilies reminded me of funerals. Then Blake smirking, editing footage on a laptop, weaving a story from my real tears. Then the staff rehearsing lines, instructed to act organic but on cue. A dozen hidden angles, a dozen confessions, every lie laid bare. The closing frame. From the product. She didn't scream. She didn't forward the email. She closed her laptop, stood up, and poured herself a scotch. Neat. Her hand trembled only once. The next day, I reappeared. Not in court, not in person, but on national television. A new reality show premiered. Consent or Control. Opening shot. A plain black stage. A single chair. And me, dressed in gray, hair slicked back, no makeup. The voiceover said nothing. Just one line appeared on screen. She used to be your entertainment, now she tells the story. The show wasn't glamorous. It wasn't cruel. It was quiet, controlled. Real people came forward. Former participants of various online experiments. People who were filmed without consent, who were edited, mocked, turned into memes. Each week, a new guest. Each story more horrifying than the last. By episode 3, Consent or Control was a cultural reset. Media watchdogs praised it. Privacy experts called it revolutionary. Activists used it in educational campaigns, but the real show was still coming. On the 5th episode, I addressed the camera directly. My name is Evelyn Whitmore, and this is the evidence they never wanted you to see. Then the stream began. No filters, no editing. Just truth. I walked viewers through Eleanor's empire, how she built it, how she monetized humiliation, the offshore accounts, the fake production companies, the shell contracts signed under duress. I showed the internal emails, staff joking about triggering mental breakdowns for better ratings. And then I opened the vault. Live. On screen, I uploaded every financial document linked to Eleanor's holdings, every license application, many of them forged, every transaction from Blake's crypto wallet that paid anonymous trolls to attack victims online. The internet exploded. Within an hour, the tag Chealer Consent over Control trended worldwide. Thousands began sharing their stories. Former staff leaked scripts. One tech company quietly released an internal memo about ethical concerns regarding the Whitmore project dated 2 years earlier. I didn't stop there. I filed a public complaint with the FCC, then the FTC, then a multinational petition to revoke Eleanor's international streaming license. All on air, all in real time. By the end of the episode, I stood and said, "This isn't about vengeance, it's about visibility, and no one gets to hide anymore." The fallout was immediate. 47 people joined a class action lawsuit. Some were from the same house I once lived in. Others were from parallel productions, spin-offs, test projects, hidden channels. Blake went silent. He deleted all social media. His name became synonymous with complicit silence. One newspaper called him the Smiling Spectator. But Eleanor, she fought back. She appeared on a rival talk show, accusing me of hysteria, calling my show a performative trauma parade. She smiled, the same rehearsed smile she'd worn since day one. But this time, it didn't work. The evidence was too overwhelming. The mask had cracked too deeply. Regulators stepped in. Eleanor's licenses were suspended pending investigation. Streaming platforms pulled her content. Sponsors withdrew, and the final blow came from her own network, who rebranded overnight, cutting all ties, replacing her with a public statement. "We stand with victims. We do not stand with Eleanor Whitmore." A meme went viral that week. A screenshot of Eleanor looking confused mid-interview captioned, "When you realize the puppet cut her own strings." I didn't celebrate, not publicly, but I watched. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a product. I felt like a person again. Power crept in quietly. It didn't roar, it hummed. One day I was speaking to survivors. The next, I was negotiating with networks about syndication rights. I got offers from publishers, agents, sponsors. My face was on magazines, my voice in radio interviews. People quoted me. I was a movement, a symbol, an icon, and I smiled through it all, half aware that the monster I'd fought had moved inside me. It wasn't instant, but it was real. The first sign came during a production meeting. One of the interns, barely 20, handed me a breakdown of viewer retention stats. "We notice spikes when guests cry mid-interview," she said brightly. "So maybe we ask harder questions up front next time?" I stared at her. She wasn't cruel, just practical. I nodded. Then I watched the episode later that night, and I saw what I'd become. I'd leaned forward, voice soft, coaxing pain like a veteran interrogator. I looked sympathetic, but the tears were currency now. The pain was product, and I was the one packaging it. The show was still about truth, but it was also about traction, timing, trending. A friend from my old life, Maya, a former colleague from my copywriting days, called after one particularly viral episode. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm busy," I said. "No, I mean, are you okay being this person now?" I paused. "What person?" "The one who once exposed manipulation and now edits 3 different camera angles to make someone cry prettier." I laughed, but it didn't reach my eyes. "That's not fair." "No," she said gently. "It's familiar." The words stuck like splinters. Then came the exposé. A former guest claimed her story had been edited for effect, that producers, my producers, had offered a speaking fee to enhance her narrative. She posted screenshots. She implied scripting, coaching, a carefully crafted fall from grace. It hit hard. Online critics pounced. Commentators speculated. Has consent or control become just another control mechanism? The irony burned. I went into damage control mode. My team drafted statements. Lawyers weighed options. But inside, I knew what mattered wasn't legal. It was moral. I'd built something sacred, and then I let the numbers define it. I found myself staring at a split screen late one night, one half playing my first appearance on the show, raw and terrified. The other, a current clip. Me in designer clothes, coaching a guest through narrative pacing. My eyes didn't match. My tone didn't match. I didn't match. The next day, I canceled production. No warning, no press release. People were furious. Investors called. Staff panicked. Viewers demanded explanations. I gave none. Instead, I went to a park in Queens and waited at a bench. I'd received a letter a week earlier, handwritten, no return address. Just one line. "I learned from you. I hope you still remember who that was." Her name was Talia. Episode 7. She'd come on to share how her abusive relationship had been recorded without her knowledge and sold to a subscription-based voyeur site. We'd cried together. Her voice had shaken. Mine had steadied her. Now she walked toward me, older, sharper, wearing a nonprofit badge. "You started a foundation," I said. "I did. You inspired it." "That means a lot." She sat. "I came because I was worried. You look polished, but not whole." I didn't respond. "I used to watch you and see fire. Now I see fog." I looked at her. Really looked. She continued, "I don't think you meant to lose yourself, but you did. You let the machine put your face on." I nodded finally. "I know," I whispered. "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer then. But that night, I logged into every platform I owned. My accounts, my channels, my show archives. I watched each screen fade to black as I deactivated them, one by one. Followers messaged, some begged, others accused. Coward. Hypocrite. "Don't leave us." But I was already gone. No goodbye post, no final episode, just absence. They could keep the echo. I needed silence. The blog appeared quietly with no fanfare, no launch, no press release. Just a simple link dropped into a forgotten thread on a forum about digital ethics. It was called No Audience Needed. The design was minimalist. Off-white background, black serif font, no comment section, no share buttons, just words, thoughts. The first post was titled, "On Silence." It wasn't angry, it didn't accuse. It simply spoke about stepping away from noise, not out of defeat, but by choice. About learning to listen to one's own breath after years of performing for strangers. It described mornings with no phone, nights without blue light, the strange joy of being unread and unrecorded. People noticed the writing style first, familiar, specific, precise in its restraint. It didn't beg for attention, and that's what made it magnetic. "Sounds like Evelyn Whitmore," someone wrote on Twitter. The comment went viral, but the author never replied. No confirmation, no denial. Week by week, the blog unfolded like pages from a quiet life. On cooking without cameras, on being bored without broadcasting it, on private joy. There were no ads, no affiliate links, no donation buttons. Whoever was writing it didn't want your money or your likes. They only wanted to exist outside the algorithm. Eventually, journalists started digging. A podcast host dedicated an entire episode to analyzing syntax, comparing it to old interviews of mine. Still, no word from me, but I was there. In a cottage far from the city, in slippers worn soft. In silence I no longer feared. The smell of herbs drying in the kitchen, a desk by the window. I didn't run from the past. I folded it carefully and placed it on a high shelf, acknowledged but no longer active. Some nights I dreamed of cameras, of blinking lights and applause tracks, of edited laughter. But I always woke up alone, and I always made tea after. I had learned something profound in the wreckage. Visibility isn't the same as value, and privacy isn't the absence of connection. It's the soil where the truest parts of you can grow. The blog kept going, gently, without rhythm. Some weeks, no posts, some months, 3 in a row, and then one day, a new entry appeared. The title was just a single sentence. "No one can own you unless you sell yourself." The piece beneath it was short, less than 200 words, but it cut deeper than anything I'd ever published in my old life. It was a reminder, a reckoning, a permission slip. And at the bottom, there was a video link. No platform branding, just a file. Click to play. The video began with a static frame, an empty house, familiar to some. The old Whitmore estate. The camera was handheld, slightly shaky. It approached the front steps slowly, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot. The lawn was overgrown, the windows dark. Then a figure stepped into frame. Me. Hair longer now. No makeup. Loose linen shirt, no jewelry. I looked older, but more alive. I turned to the camera, looked into it, and smiled. Not the kind of smile shaped for screens. The kind that came from somewhere deep and quiet. "This used to be my prison," I said. I turned slightly, gesturing behind me. This house, these walls, the cameras, the edits, the endless chase for approval from people I never met. I stepped forward. The camera followed. I was a story written by others, a product packaged for consumption, and I let them. I played the part until I didn't. I looked straight into the lens again. I used to be the game. A pause, a breath. But now, I smiled, soft and certain. I write the rules. The video ended. No credits, no outro, no call to action. But within hours, it had been downloaded, re-uploaded, translated. It appeared on message boards, in think pieces, in ethics classes. Yet I never followed up. No sequel, no statement, no brand. Just the blog, still there, still quiet. The world moved on, as it always does. New controversies, new causes. But somewhere, tucked into quiet corners of the internet, no audience needed still got visits. People still read, still paused, still remembered. And I sat at my desk, fingers curled around a mug, watching the sun paint gold across the kitchen wall. No cameras, no scripts, only breath, only life.